This video is brought to you by NetSuite by Oracle. If you are a CEO who's tired of using QuickBooks or tired of the nonsense of running multiple programs at once, upgrade to NetSuite to more effectively run your company. I want to run through Wildcard Weekend Day 2. That is the Browns Steelers, the Ravens Titans, the Bears Saints. I want to start with the surprise of the weekend, the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh my goodness. So I got to say, first of all, I was almost dreading watching this game because I really like Cleveland. I also really like the Browns quarterback, Baker Mayfield. I'm like the only person, I guess, who I like Baker Mayfield. I like the commercials. I like what he does. I like him as a person. I root for him. I shamelessly, I would like to see Baker and Cleveland succeed. They've been a terrible franchise for years, and watching them win a playoff game yesterday, oh man, it was so much fun. So crazy. So first of all, the Browns were playing this game without their head coach, Kevin Stefanski. He tested positive for COVID. He could not coach remotely. He was literally in his basement with his phone off. He cannot have any interaction with the team if he's not on the premises. And by the way, the Browns haven't practiced in like 2 weeks because of COVID. Now, that might actually have helped Cleveland because they got to rest and stay more healthy. And by this time of the year in the NFL playoffs, a lot of the stuff going on is really just all mental and making sure you're checked in, got the game plan down. So I think maybe not practicing might have even actually helped Cleveland. But going into the game, I had no hope of Cleveland winning. I gave them no shot. I thought they were screwed. I was just like, hey, they made the playoffs. I'm happy. That's good enough for me. So when I watched the game, I was shocked. I could not believe what I was seeing. I wish my dad had been with me. My dad, he came over for the game the night before, Washington and the Buccaneers. I could not have predicted what happened. I could have not predicted that the Browns would be up 35-10 at halftime. The Browns won 48-37. And, oh, man, it was crazy. It's the Browns' first playoff win since 1995. It's the Browns' first road playoff win, being the away team since 1969. Years and years and years. And here's why it's so cool. Just imagine this. It's been years in the making. Think about your lifetime being aware of the Cleveland Browns organization. You're probably not a fan. You may or may not be. I've just always been aware of the Cleveland Browns and felt really kind of tragically bad for them. They're like the little engine that could that never quite could. They had Tim Couch as quarterback. They had Brandon Whedon, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel. That's just to name a few of the times that the Browns have tried to get a franchise quarterback and become a winning franchise. And Baker Mayfield was the quarterback that made it happen. He won a playoff game, got the Browns to the playoffs in the first place. Not by himself. They got a good team around him. But Baker in this game was 21 for 34 passing, had 263 yards, 3 touchdowns. One was a screen pass, but I'll give him a pass. Counts as a touchdown pass. Baker had no turnovers, so that's the key to me. He played a very clean game, played smart football, made good decisions, got rid of the ball very quickly, was aware of the pass rush, and I'm happy for Baker. I'm so happy for Cleveland. And, oh, man, it was a surprise because I could have never thought that would happen. I'm like, no way. The Browns are not going to win this game, and they did. And not only did they win the game, they were up 28-0 in the first quarter. It's crazy to me. Now, it does have to be acknowledged that Pittsburgh handed them a lot of points. First of all, the very first play of the game, Marquise Pouncey, the 9-time Pro Bowl center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's a Pro Bowler this year, snapped the ball up over Big Ben Roethlisberger's head, and the Browns recovered the bad snap for a touchdown. Bam. First play, 7-0. You're like, oh, what a crazy way to start the game. And then it got worse and worse and worse, and Big Ben had 2 interceptions and a 3-and-out, and the Steelers had 3 turnovers just in the first quarter. By the end of the game, the Steelers had 5 total turnovers. Big Ben he had 501 yards passing. He had 4 touchdown passes. Oh, yeah, by the way, Big Ben also had 4 interceptions. Ooh, that's not good. That's very, very bad. And the Steelers played terrible. They didn't show up. They looked disorganized. They did not look on the same page. There was a play where Eric Ebron probably should have stopped in the window. Big Ben thought he was going to stop. Eric Ebron kept going. It's a guy open who ran the wrong route and miscommunicated with the quarterback. It was not good. It wasn't pretty. And it's insane to me how far the Steelers have fallen from where they once were. At one point during this season, I made a video. I talked about how I believed that the Pittsburgh Steelers were a playoff team. They were running the ball very well, playing good defense. They had receivers making plays left and right. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster. Had good running backs. Like, everything was running very, very smoothly for Pittsburgh early on this year. And in the second half of the year, they fell apart. They couldn't run the ball effectively. Their playmaking receivers suddenly stopped making plays, dropped passes like crazy. Eric Ebron, Deontay Johnson was a massive culprit. It got worse and worse and worse. And Chase Claypool emerged as a really good player, but it's like, man, it was so disappointing to watch this really capable football team fall apart. And I just, not to mention they had injuries on defense that made things even worse. They're probably the strength of their team, their defense, really got gimped and fell apart as injuries piled up. And the Steelers completely fell apart. The Steelers just, at one point, were a team I was very impressed with. They were playing great football. I mean, you can say, well, there were always signs they weren't going to be very good. They were always overrated. Say what you want. They were playing fantastic football early on in the year, and it just fell apart, man. It's a collapse, a complete collapse of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I want to really quickly touch on Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju had a quote earlier this week. And I don't know the intention. If you watch the video of Juju talking about it, it sounds like Juju's trying to stir the pot. But Juju had a quote. He said, basically, the Browns is the Browns, and they're the same team we play every year, and they're just a bunch of dudes. Just kind of not giving the Browns any credit, saying they're no different from every other year I play the Cleveland Browns. And when you look at that bad quote, which became a really big deal and became very much a motivating factor for the Cleveland Browns this week, and I think you should never give your opponent any reason to have a chip on their shoulder. That's just not smart. And then you look at, okay, well, Juju also had moments where he had TikTok dances on the logos of opposing teams, namely the Cincinnati Bengals, who got very, very mad. And as a result, that's part of what motivated the Bengals to beat the Steelers earlier this year. So Juju is becoming a distraction. Juju is helping motivate other teams to beat Pittsburgh at this point. And I don't know that it needs to be public or he should be fired or cut, but somebody's got to talk to Juju and say, hey, are you a football player or an entertainer? If you're an entertainer, we don't want you here anymore because we're trying to win football games and you're becoming a distraction big enough that it's costing our teams victories, or at least at the minimum making it harder for us to win games. And so some private conversation needs to happen between Mike Tomlin, the head coach, and Juju Smith-Schuster and say, look, what are you here for? Are you here for TikTok followers, or are you here to make money and play football? Because if you want to have TikTok followers and be an entertainer, this may not be the right place for you to play football anymore. Now let's talk about the Bears and the Saints. I'm trying to rack my brain. This game was not a very good game. The Bears and the Saints. For most of the game, it was 7-3 until like midway through the third quarter. Now the Saints did win 21-9. The Bears literally had a touchdown on the final play. Jimmy Graham actually had a pretty sweet one-handed catch against his former team, the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans pulled away late, though. They won the game, again, 21-9. I thought Mitchell Trubisky played fairly well. He had some mistakes. He had some moments where I thought Trubisky had people open vertically downfield, and he didn't pull the trigger. He just checked it down and made a safe completion. And that's a major frustration I've had with Mitchell Trubisky for years now. But I also want to say, like, Trubisky had a lot of stuff going against him. His receiving core was just not where it should have been. Hit Allen Robinson, that's great, but Anthony Miller got ejected. Darnell Mooney was out. And the Bears had three starters actually out with injuries. They had Darnell Mooney, a receiver. They had linebacker Roquan Smith didn't play. Corner Jalen Johnson didn't play. And this one mistake happened. So I thought Trubisky played a fairly okay game. Again, didn't push the ball vertically when I wanted him to at times. But there were also no glaring interceptions or bad mistakes that were horrible. And there was a really, really, really bad play where Javon Mims dropped a touchdown in the end zone, like a perfect throw. He's wide open. And Trubisky it was a beautiful deep ball from Trubisky. I went, wow, that's a great throw. And Javon Mims dropped it. And Mims, like, oh, man, you got to catch up all. Felt bad for Trubisky. I don't know that Trubisky should be the guy long-term in Chicago. I personally wouldn't bring him back. I thought this was a game he needed to really, really show out, and he really did not. Trubisky doesn't push the ball vertically well enough, in my opinion. But I also want to say, like, in fairness, like, his receiving core was decimated in this game. But also, like, how many times can you make excuses for Mitchell Trubisky? At some point, it's got to become his problem and his fault. And I'm watching Aaron Rodgers win with, I mean, you would think Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, like, you have one receiver and then a bunch of nobodies. Aaron Rodgers does pretty fine with that idea. So you have one star receiver, Allen Robinson, and maybe a bunch of nobodies. Trubisky's not getting a cut. And to compare Trubisky to Aaron Rodgers is crazy, I know. But my point is, every time I watch Mitchell Trubisky, I'm just, there's something lacking. I'm looking for more and hoping for more, and it's not happening. Now, the Saints were solid. Drew Brees played pretty well. I thought had a really slow start. There was a point where you're like, are the Saints going to lose this game? What's going on? Why is it still 7-3? Really, again, just not a very exciting game in my opinion. I thought the best part of this game really was that the game was also broadcast on Nickelodeon. If anybody has a chance, go look at videos. There's videos on YouTube of the game from Nickelodeon. It's amazing. Oh my goodness. You had SpongeBob between the uprights for field goals. You had wacky graphics all over the place. It was a fun tone. You had slime after touchdowns where they slimed, like, I guess digitally, like, in After Effects. And I don't know if we'll ever get this again, but I saw Nickelodeon was just this special, weird presentation of the NFL. Quirky, fun. My girlfriend loved it. So I would actually love to see that happen more. I think it would bring more people in to watch football because they'd be there for the gimmicks and the fun stuff, not necessarily. They're lukewarm on football, but they'll watch for the other fun entertainment. And it's fun watching these grown men get slimed, with VFX basically. It's like, it's so weird and silly and fun. And I had a great time with that. Now, next week, the Buccaneers play the Saints in the NFL playoffs, and I believe that the Buccaneers are going to beat the Saints. I'll do a predictions topic later this week, but I just want to put that out there now. The upset of the week, in my opinion, if it's even an upset, is Tampa Bay and Tom Brady beating the Saints next week, beating Drew Brees at home in New Orleans. You're playing the Saints, and the Buccaneers are playing for the third time this year. And there are times where a team has beat the same team 3 times in 1 year. It's not impossible, but it is a very hard thing to do. And I just think, man, like, the Buccaneers have a lot of momentum. They're playing very well. The Saints are not. They're playing okay. They barely beat the Bears, who failed their way into the playoffs. So keep your eye on that. I think the Buccaneers are going to beat the Saints next week in the NFL playoffs. Let's talk about the final game from day 2 of Wildcard weekend. The Ravens at the Titans. So Baltimore won 20-13. It's Lamar Jackson's first ever playoff win. Now, I always thought that the kind of narrative about, well, Lamar Jackson can't win in the playoffs. I'm like, God, still, he lost 2 games in 2 years. Like, whatever. I thought it was always massively overblown. But it was a hard, tough-fought game. Really interesting, really exciting. The Ravens against the Titans it's really become a real rivalry, in my opinion. And these two teams do not like each other at all. Now, I'm going to take a short break. I want to look something up real quick, so I'm going to make a cut here. I want to try to figure out why the Ravens didn't shake the Titans' hands after the game. My prediction is that it's because of COVID. If I had to pick one reason why Lamar Jackson won the game, just ran off the field. I don't remember what Lamar said about what happened. I'm going to look it up in 1 second, but my prediction is Lamar was like, hey, the Titans have had COVID. We're like, hey, none of us, we're trying to win a Super Bowl. None of us can get sick. Don't shake their hands. We're avoiding them. We don't want to get COVID. Let me look it up and find out what happened. I'm going to make a cut, and I'll tell you what I find. Wow. Okay, so I looked it up. Here's a quote from Lamar Jackson. I feel like it was just disrespect to see what went on before the game the last time we played those guys, and they were standing on our logo, and seeing them get into it with our head coach. That was just disrespectful because we treat all of our opponents with respect. It wasn't no reason for us to shake hands and stuff like that. We'll be the bigger guy, so we just walked off the field. I feel like we were being the bigger guys. Wow, I thought it would have been COVID. I really did. I was like, okay. No, it's not. This is a real rivalry between two teams that really do not like each other. And it wasn't about not trying to get sick or not test positive next week. It's really just these two teams did not want to shake hands. The Ravens didn't want to stir the pot and get in trouble for next week. Wow. Really cool stuff. I didn't know that. I saw Lamar just run away, and I was like, that's interesting. Now we know why. And that's actually even more juicy and more fun than I would have thought. Now, Lamar had a bad interception. He left the ball way too far inside on a throw down the right sideline. Other than that, though, I thought that Lamar could have been a little more sharp in the red zone. He had a couple throws where he was late. But Lamar played a really good game. And kind of the highlight play in my mind when I think about Lamar Jackson, how he played on Sunday, he had this wild 48-yard touchdown run where he escaped a sack, ran up the middle, just was gone. Like it just a flash, was gone up the middle and down up the middle through the defense and in the end zone. I'm like, man, that's a crazy play. And that was kind of the turning point in my opinion. Where like, oh, Lamar's here. And like I said, Lamar was not going to lose this game. He would not allow his team to lose this game. Now, Tennessee, I warned you guys a while back about the Tennessee Titans where I said the Titans had a good year. They're a good team. It's been fun. But they were never, ever going to win a Super Bowl. It wasn't in the cards for them this year. They were very reliant on the running game. They needed Derrick Henry to have a good game. And if he didn't, they didn't win. And the Titans also had a lot of problems on defense this year. And in this game, Derrick Henry had 40 yards on 18 carries. Derrick Henry was not an impact on the game. And in fact, the Ravens really did a good job shutting down Derrick Henry. And I'm telling you, I hate to say this. I'm sorry, but it's true. If Derrick Henry isn't lights out, the Tennessee Titans are not going to win a game. And I know Titans fans are angry. They hate hearing that. I like Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill does a good job. I don't know that's all on him. Next year, what I want to see from the Titans is an evolution of their running game. They're just too reliant on play action and running the football. I just think they need to evolve schematically and become less dependent on having a great running game and more hopefully able to throw the ball on second and third and long when they need to. And the Titans had opportunities to win this game. The Titans got stopped on the goal line, on the 5-yard line, 3rd and goal from the 5. Ravens got the stop. Tennessee had to settle for a field goal. And then at the end of the game, the Titans had the ball. 4 minutes left, a chance to tie the game. They were actually driving. Then on a 2nd and 5, a receiver fell down. Ryan Tannehill got intercepted, and the ball game was over. So I like Tennessee a lot. I like Ryan Tannehill. I like their story. Again, I want to see them improve on defense, get a pass rusher, somebody in the draft, something like that. And then schematically, whether it's bringing in a coach from college who can be like their passing game coordinator the same way that Joe Brady was for LSU a couple years ago, they need to do something to revamp and rethink their passing game schematically so that they're not just only getting chunks of yardage throwing the football when they use play action, because that's basically the only effective way that Tennessee throws the football. I know that's a too strong of a statement. There are other ways they throw the ball. It's like their only way. But man, I mean, Ryan Tannehill is fine. I think he just needs a better system around him to take advantage of their ability to throw the ball. They got good receivers, and I their problem again is the design of their offense, not necessarily the people and the players involved. So that's my recap of Wildcard Weekend Day 2.